Getting ready to go live. That's loud. Good morning. Did I press go live before I actually added the TikTok channel? I think I did. I did. All right, trying to add the tick. There we go. What happens when you're multitasking and you press the wrong button? This is what happens. Magical. Press go on this one. Start some songs off. Yes, I'm distracting you with music. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sean Shapiro, and let's see if TikTok stream kicks up. There we go. We're live on TikTok too. Good morning. I hope you're having a great day. It's Tuesday. For some people, that's a great day, at least every other week. And I am coming to you from the studios of Traffic Services. That's what this little room is. And we are talking traffic, safety, traffic law, police stuff for at least an hour, because that's what we do. Monday to Friday from 10 to 11, answering your traffic and police questions. So if you've got questions, we generally have answers. Generally. We are, we got lots of hellos and good mornings. Cool. We got JD in the room, who is our moderator, bringing questions over from TikTok. So let me just quickly address that. Where can you ask questions? Oh, a little slow connection happening here. There we go. Okay, so we're currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and the platform formerly known as Twitter. If you're on any of the platforms except for Twitter, you can actually ask us questions. If you're on Twitter, I'm sorry, it doesn't work. But you can go to trafficcop.ca and then hit the link for the show, or go to youtube.trafficcop.ca. It'll take you to our channel. But the whole idea of trafficcop.ca, which, I'll just show you what it looks like. Let's see here. Add a screen. Boom. Okay, it was a little early for the boom. This is what it looks like when you get there, and I have all sorts of useful links. It's a link tree. So if you go to the top button, it's Join the Toronto Auxiliary Program, because they're hiring. It's happening. There's going to be a class next year. And you can send me a message, but if you scroll down here, you'll go to the YouTube page, or the link for today's show. You can continue scrolling down for all sorts of useful information. But the bottom is where you have the real deal useful information. I even have a title that says useful links. That's where you can make reports, start a report for collision, manuals. Oh, driver's license manual. How do you get your it's the handbook. Getting a motorcycle license, same thing. Checking to see if a driver's license is valid. Before you loan your friend your car, you want to make sure that their license is actually valid. That'll do that. It'll do it for free. Renewing your license plate or signing up for reminders, really, really important. That's what I meant to talk about yesterday. I said I was going to tell somebody a story, and then I totally forgot to do that. What I was going to tell everybody about was the fact that my dad asked me, how do I renew my license plate? Because last time I did it for him. And oddly enough, I said, go to trafficcop.ca. Then I walked him through it. So I'm even using this page for my dad. That is how awesome this is. Anyway, lots of useful stuff. Hope you can use it and it helps you, and that would be awesome. I just realized that I should probably rearrange this. There we go. Move the Instagram camera. If you're using Instagram, please use the question answer button. But Don J. Soko says, as a kid, I remember there being police Corvette Camaros and Mustangs, maybe others, maybe even others. Do they still have that stuff, and why do they have that? While I go to the hello section of the morning, I'll start off with that question, because I think it's a cool question. And that is, we used to have Camaros. We used to have Camaros years and years and years ago. I think we had a hood left by the time I'd been on for a while. They were crashed. They were never replaced. They did have LT1 Corvette engines in them. They were highway cars, and then we didn't have anything like that for a long, long time. Now we have Dodge Chargers. We have a couple of them that are marked, a couple of them that are unmarked. and that is the closest thing to having a sports car. Is it a sports car? I mean, they're four-door cars. Is it considered a sports car? I don't know. Sporty. Why do we have them? They're cool. I don't know. I didn't buy them. I don't make those decisions, but we do have them. I imagine it was to have just some variety. Before I get, well, actually, okay, we'll do some hellos. Let's do some hellos. Stephen Bell, good morning to you. He says, hi, good morning, Sean. We got Tim Shallow, who says, good morning, Sean. Good morning to you. We have good morning from, or just morning, exclamation point, from Zombie. Pac-Man says, hey, good luck with your stream. Thank you very much. Coming in from Kick. Michael says, I missed yesterday's show, therefore I get a special double show today. Does that mean you're watching the other show and catching up? But either way, welcome back. Good morrow from Chase, who's changing it up. Sean Chen says good morning. Let's see here. We've got, okay. We got a question from Chase, who's jumping in to cell phone discussions first thing in the morning. We've got Michael L. wants to know about alcohol consumption in a car. We've got Evandro, who is joining us. He is very clear. Your Brazilian fan is watching again. Evandro wants to become a police officer. Currently, he is translating questions and answers for the both Spanish and Portuguese-speaking communities in Toronto and abroad. Well, I guess really specific to Ontario law, but it is a good thing you're doing. Evan Briones says, greetings on behalf of Philippine Embassy, just translating to all native Filipino language. So are you making videos, Evan, or are you like actively just repeating everything I say? Yeah, let me know. That's very cool. Either way, although that's a lot of work. I speak for a long time. So if you're translating this entire show, let me know. Actually, just a shout out. I have the ability of, on YouTube, uploading translations of the show to in different languages, subtitles. If someone were so inclined and wanted to go and timestamp and provide translated documents, I could actually upload that. That would be pretty cool to be able to offer that in different languages. Stuff to think about. Okay. Can O2 Gold says, what a great evening at the swearing in of the new constables last night. I was not there. I didn't know that was happening. I apparently was taking a nap, but I'm glad that you got to see that. If you did see that, now I want to see the video because I feel like I've missed out on something good. It is really amazing. I remember when I got my my badge ceremony and graduation. It was an amazing thing. I mean, my family was there. My mom was there. I remember even my first time as an auxiliary officer and then as a court officer. Graduations are amazing and very, very lot of. It's a big show, right? You got the marching and the pipe band, that big thing. It's very cool. Zyanthia says, good morning. Headlight brightness, what are the limits? Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Sergeant Campbell said yesterday that pickup trucks are considered commercial motor vehicles. So is it legal to tow a small trailer while towing a camper as well? No, not exactly. We'll talk about that in a second. Kiana, welcome back. Questions about BB guns, okay. Alriri, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Ahmed, what happens if I'm doing, where is this? What if I'm doing 43 over in a 60 zone? Okay, we'll talk about that. Kiana also wants to know about carrying liquor in the car. Fast cars are important to call. Okay, we'll talk to Michael. Michael's commenting about why we have fast cars. Oh, wow. Evan is actively translating every word. You are a machine. Well, you're not a machine. You're a human being. But are you doing this in a room with people, or are you just recording it and then putting it back up later? Either way, very cool. I'm impressed. I want to know more. Send me a message, DM, so I can see how you're doing it, because I'd love to be able to promote that to the Filipino-speaking community. Or to the Filipino Tagalog. It's Tagalog, not Filipino-speaking. It's Tagalog. Okay, moving on. Like I said that, then I keyed into the fact that no. Let's see here. Officer Shapiro, can you kindly speak on motorcycles, lane splitting, legality, and stunt driving? Absolutely, we can talk about that. Okay, and then, so Michael responded to the question earlier about about tandem towing. So okay, you got it. You covered it. Okay, moving along. We're gonna go back and start with Chase's question of can you legally use your cell phone while driving if you're in a parking lot, for example, the 401 or the DVP. If you're in a parking lot, for example, the 401 or the DVP. Aha! Okay, that's a good joke. So he's saying, and he's poking fun. If it's traffic, and we often call it the DVP, the Don Valley parking lot, can you use your cell phone while you're doing that, while you're in bumper to bumper traffic? Of course, the answer is no. That's still using your cell phone, still distracted driving, still not legal. But what just popped into my head was hardy har har. I have not said that in a very long time. Probably grade school. Okay. Michael L. wants to know, can my passengers drink beer if I were driving on my property? No. No one can consume alcohol in a motor vehicle, regardless of whether it's on private or public or roads, any property. You cannot consume alcohol in a motor vehicle at all. Headlight brightness, we talked about that limits. So 300 candela is the minimum to be considered a headlight. I believe that 3,000, let's see here. Oh, and I didn't talk about Vision Zero. We'll talk about that in a second. I think that it's 3,000. Let's Google this. I've talked about this before. I never remember it. Max brightness headlight, Ontario. It's amazing what Google knows. It may not actually have the answer. There, 500 and 300 candela. It's wrong though, because 300 candela is considered a headlight. So, according to GCBC, what is that? The Code of Federal Regulations, luminous intensity of 300. But anyway, 3,000 is correct. At least if we believe this. But I already said it, so it just confirms my belief. Anyway, moving along. I do want to jump back into the mix with what I had and should have started the show off with, which is Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Oh, yes. They are a dedicated group of officers who provide additional support. They augment the already good work being done in divisions across the city. They are focused on safety, and they go to different areas to educate drivers through enforcement. Now, that comes in the form of focusing on the big four. We're talking about speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. Those are the driver behaviors that most often lead to serious injury and death. That is not an exclusive list. That is not saying that pedestrians and cyclists and others don't have to be safe. It just means that that group of officers focuses on those behaviors. We're still writing tickets to people who choose to break the law in different ways. We're still writing tickets for people who choose to cover their license plate, have tinted windows. We're not letting anybody off the hook. But these particular officers focus on those, got a point over here, those particular items. Now, where are they today? Today, they're in 31 Division and 55 Division. Those are neighborhoods like Black Creek, Humbermead, Downsview, Humber Summit, the Beaches, Riverdale, Danforth, East York. Neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play, and they certainly deserve to be safe. And we post updates daily as to where they're going to be. You can go on to our traffic services Twitter, Instagram, or even our Facebook pages. Yes, we are on Facebook. Yes, we have people of all ages who follow us. So if you want to stay up to date on a daily basis, get notifications, that's where you would do it. All right, back to the chat, back to questions. Okay, my nose is itchy. Yes, noses get itchy. Okay, let's see here. Don J. Soko, which may not be the way you want to pronounce this, but he says, they say, it's getting really scary out there with the street racing and groups that are getting much larger that compete with what I've seen in LA or Japan. Is there anything special police are working on? We regularly go out and look for people who are choosing to engage in that kind of behavior, and a lot of it results in criminal charges. So stunt driving is one thing, but and of course we lay charges for stunt driving all the time. But when stunt driving is being done in an environment like a rally on the street, a takeover event, that is absolutely falling into the category of criminal behavior. So yeah, we charge people criminally. If you go back and look at projects that we've completed and done press releases on, it's amazing as to how many criminal charges get laid and stunt driving charges and vehicles taken off the road, because there's a lot of not so good or smart things happening when it comes to people being dangerous with their motor vehicles. Okay, we'll talk more about that another time. But Chase says, oh, that was the Chase question about tandem towing with pickup trucks. And there's a very specific weight thing, and that's what I was going to talk about earlier. But Michael had very specifically addressed this. Michael is a truck driver, bus driver extraordinaire. Yeah, driver with many talents. I don't know how to refer to Michael to properly cover his qualifications, but Chase says Sergeant Campbell said yesterday that pickup trucks are considered commercial motor vehicles. So is it legal to tow a small trailer while towing a camper van, which is what is tandem towing? And Michael says double and triple trailers can only be Class A combinations, not a G. And there are, I think there's they may have changed things slightly that possibly large Winnebago style vehicles may allow it. I think it's ridiculous. I don't know why anyone would want to do it. It just doesn't scream safety to me. Oh, okay. Stephen says, I've seen all your YouTube videos. I absolutely like them. Well, I'm glad that's a big commitment. I've got hundreds of hours of video up there. So if you have truly looked at all of them, I'm sorry that you had to endure it, but I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Let's see here. Got questions about, can I drive below the speed limit? Can you drive without a parent when you have a G2? Is it against the law to sleep in your car? Handled communication question. Okay. I'm trying to, okay. I'll just, rather than trying to decipher your McWhizzle, we'll just call you Stinky. They've got a question. We'll flag that and we'll come back to it in a second. License plates. Oh, colored license plate lights. That's a good one. Let's see here. Okay, flagging some motorcycle questions. I'm just quickly going through. And Dr. Nick, it has been a while. Welcome back. Okay. Dr. Nick has a question. I've got you flagged. What do we got here? Windshield tint. Okay, we'll talk about that. All right. I need water. I don't have water. I have a little bit of water. I have lukewarm coffee first. Sensitive. Okay. All right. Let's get back in. I got 18 in the queue. So the question from Kiana was, can I have a BB gun in your vehicle, or is it illegal to have a BB gun in your vehicle in Ontario? We start getting into firearms questions, and BB guns, if they have a muzzle velocity under 500 feet per second, aren't necessarily firearms. But if you brandish one, like if it's seen in your vehicle, expect that you're going to be dealt with by police, right? If you're waving around a BB gun, and I might know somebody, actually they've since passed away, but they had a BB gun in the car, and they did wave it at somebody who was an aggressive driver. This is when I was a little kid, and it was not anyway. Long story short, they were arrested at gunpoint, and it was not a good thing. But that's just sort of an idea of what happens if you carry something that looks like a firearm. We treat it as a firearm until we can be confident that it is not a firearm. That's an officer safety thing. Dropping my phone onto my keyboard. Sorry for the noise. So if you are transporting a BB gun, because BB guns are legal to own and use, obviously if it's being done safely. Putting it into a case so you're not creating fear, preferably keeping it in your trunk, but it shouldn't be something you're playing with in your car. That sounds like a recipe for bad, but just having it isn't illegal. Okay. What will happen if you drive 43 over a 60 zone limit? First of all, I want to clarify that we're talking about province of Ontario, that we're talking about kilometers, not miles. So in a 60 kilometer an hour zone, you are under 80. Under 80 in Ontario means that stunt driving is anything 40 over. So 43 over would be stunt driving. Your license would be suspended roadside for 30 days. Your vehicle would be impounded for 14. You'd be charged with stunt driving and possibly speeding in addition to that. You would get a summons to court, and the consequences in court for a conviction would be $2,000 to $10,000, up to 6 months in jail, and a 1 to 3 year driving prohibition on your first conviction. Subsequent convictions would go up from 1 to 3 years suspension to a 3 to 10 year suspension, and a third conviction or any subsequent would be a lifetime ban for driving. Of course, every single time is a $2,000 to $10,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail. So that would be the beginning. It would be the suspension and impound, which of course you're responsible for all towing and impound fees, and the reinstatement fees in relation to your license if you were getting it back. And that's that. Kiana has another question about carrying liquor in your vehicle. Is it true you can't have it within arm's reach? Depends. If you're talking about sealed from factory, you bought it in the store, it's absolutely sealed, unbroken, then you can have it anywhere. You could technically have it in your pocket. If, however, the seal is broken, it must be stored with out of arm's reach or out of reach of the driver, preferably the trunk. That's the best place. I mean, there's other reasons in addition to having access. You just don't, if you're involved in a collision, whatever is in the cabin of your vehicle becomes a projectile, and that could hurt. And glass could become sharp when broken, and it's just a bad idea. Obviously, it cannot be open. Now, there's unsealed and closed, and then there's open. Open's a different situation altogether. Hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, ask it again. And let's see here. So the question or the request is to speak on motorcycles and lane splitting, legality, and stunt driving. So stunt driving, you have to know, has about 15 different triggers. If you do a wheelie, that's stunt driving, regardless of your speed, because you're taking a wheel off the road. Burnouts, these and drifting and donuts, these are all stunt driving. 40 kilometers over the posted speed limit if the posted speed limit is under the speed of 80 kilometers an hour, and 50 kilometers over if it is 80 or above, or 150. Anywhere, all of these things are stunt driving. What we tend to see with motorcycles is either lane splitting, and lane splitting can be careless, stunt, or criminal dangerous, depending on what we see as officers. If you're simply driving slowly through traffic, it might be careless. If you're driving very quickly through traffic, where you're weaving in and out, or at a high or a marked departure, that may be stunt driving. If it is something that is absolutely putting risk to all involved, and because it's just beyond that of how do I put this into perspective? If it's something that is such a speed that you would be, that we're concerned that you are intentionally putting lives at risk beyond that of what's covered by stunt, we would charge you potentially for criminal. And speed alone could be criminal, but speed combined with the factor of lane splitting, these are all things that would be considered. And if we can make the case for it, we would. So I don't, what else can I talk about? I put up a video yesterday that had a rider, not going terribly quickly, but riding off roadway, different than stunt, but certainly dangerous in itself, being off the roadway, driving on the shoulder, and then just booking it down the side. Different than lane splitting. I see it related, but I wouldn't call it lane splitting. That's just being, what's the word? Yeah, I'm not going to say it. Not being very nice. Everyone else has to wait in line. Why does a motorcycle rider not have to? And I am a motorcycle person. Let's see here. Oh, Don J. Soko has more questions. Okay, we'll come back to that. I can close this window. Hey, if you're watching, you don't know who I am. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day, even when I'm not at work. It's weird. It's like something I do that's part of me. Yeah, I'm a traffic cop, and I always will be, even after I retire, which isn't for a long time, but just saying. Yeah, it's part of who I am. Can I drive 10 kilometers below the posted speed limit? Everywhere. Yeah, you can. Now, if you're doing it in the passing lane, that's a bad idea, because unnecessary slow driving may or may not be appropriate, but failing to move right, or slower traffic failing to move right, there's a couple of different charges. Fail to facilitate passing, there's a couple of different charges that could be laid that would address going too slow. The fact is, courtesy dictates that you should stay to the right. There's also law that supports it, but courtesy aside, you just be a good human and know that you'd be frustrating everybody if you're slowing everybody down. Now, if you want to do 10 below the speed limit in the rightmost lane, absolutely, power to you. That's more than legal. And if you're doing 10 on the road, and like 10 below is totally reasonable. 10 below is actually suggested if the weather is rainy, snowy, slippery, at very minimum 10 below the posted speed limit, because the speed limit is for ideal conditions. Oddly enough, some people think that 30 over is acceptable everywhere they go. They'd be wrong. It's illegal to speed at any speed over the posted limit. And yet I am usually the slowest person on the road, and I'm the one doing the speed limit. Shocking. Absolutely shocking and annoying as everyone passes me. You can all get there at the same time. Oddly enough, in city traffic, I get to the stoplight at the same time or seconds past the person who passed me seconds before. You don't get anywhere any faster. It's baloney. It's not even a fallacy. It's just garbage. It's junk. People think they're getting somewhere faster, and it's why are they speeding anyway? I hope that answers your question. And my rant was not too long. Can you drive on the highway without your parent or a parent with your G2? When you get your G2, you are a driver. You are a conditional driver, but you are a driver nonetheless. You're not a learner anymore. You're still in the process of learning, but you're not required to have a supervisor at all. Now, maybe your parents say you can't drive alone with your G2. That may be a parent invoked rule in their vehicle, but it's not a legal one. It's not a requirement by law. Your G2 requires you to maintain a zero BAC, that's zero blood alcohol content, and it requires you to have no more than one person under the age of 20 or in the first 6 months of you getting your license between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. That's your G2 license. In the second 6 months period of having your G2 license, you're allowed to have up to 3 people under the age of 20 years old between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. Save and except, there is an exemption for immediate family members. So if you, could you imagine? I can't drive with my children between midnight and 5 a.m. No, it doesn't. It's not a thing. But that's it. Zero BAC in those 2 conditions. Am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. I will unflag that now answered question. Is it against the law to sleep in your car? There's sadly more people who are asking about this because I guess it's a housing crisis. Truly, there's people who are living in their car. The big question is whether or not you are consuming alcohol, because you can't consume alcohol in your car, even if you're living in it. And where you're parking. Are you parking somewhere you're legally permitted to be with the permission of the landowner? It's not illegal to sleep in your car, and I've done it before when driving home on long drives where I'm just super tired, and it's so much safer to pull off the road, go to somewhere safe, take a nap, and then get back on the road rather than being cross-eyed and driving off the road and crashing. So there's the thing. It's not specifically illegal. At least not in Ontario. I imagine anywhere could invoke a bylaw or a rule. In other jurisdictions may be different, but it is not a situation here. Let's see here. Oh, okay, we've got a conversation about self-defense going on here. Okay. Good morning to Leo wife. My wife is now watching. Good morning. The Grinch says morning. This was back at 10:26. Oh, actually, we're not that far behind. Okay. So we'll talk about this. A question about winter tires. Very, very important question. It's not necessarily time, but we'll talk about it. Okay, we're talking about Chase. And Chase is talking about semis. Michael wants to know if I'm related to Ben Shapiro. I haven't been asked about this, or at least the questions haven't gotten through about this recently. But I'm so glad when they do, because I think it's funny. I'm 6'5". Ben Shapiro, vertically challenged. Nothing bad about that, but I'm much taller than him. I don't think we share genetics. He has magnificent hair. I don't. His voice much higher than mine. I'm going to assume we're not related in any way, shape, or form, but who knows? Who knows? Anything's possible. Colton has a question about being 22 with a G-class license. We'll talk about that. And having a zero BAC. So we'll talk about that in a second. Oh. Okay. Questions about snow tires on rental cars. I've never actually looked into that. All right. Clicking here, clicking there, going back to the list. Cool. We already covered the sleeping in your car. To use handheld communication device, be parked in a safe legal spot. Oh, this was Michael H. responding to Chase earlier. Cool. Okay. Moving on. Stinky wants to know, when being pulled over on the 401, is it better to use the inside or outside lane? So there's situations where if we're pulling you over to actually engage and you're in the left lane, it's the closest thing. The law says you must pull over to the nearest curb or edge of roadway. But I can tell you from experience that more often than not, we prefer you to move to the right and be on the right lane. And that has to do mostly with re-entering the highway. If we're talking about a highway moving at speed, that would be the ideal, because when you have to get back up to speed, the slowest moving lane is close to you. You're not trying to get back on the road with the fast lane, which shouldn't be going faster by very much than any other lane, but oddly enough, people are. So that's a thing. If it's bumper to bumper traffic, it might be and may make more sense to pull over to the left. So it really depends. What I would suggest doing is paying attention to your mirror when you see us waving our arms out the window, because we do that. Will actually give you some direction. Usually, more often than not, again, we want you moving to the right lane, but an officer might give you different direction, and it would not be illegal or unlawful for you to move to the left. Okay. Colored lights around license plate. What do you think? Anyone? Bueller? White light is the only lawful color of light that can illuminate a license plate. 3 candela is what's required. And much brighter than that, you're actually going to cause a problem, because you're not allowed to project white light to the rear, just illuminating the license plate. But if it's anything other than white, you can get a ticket. It is improper, illegally, not allowed. Johnny Five alive. I just watched that again with my kids. It was awesome. Haven't seen it since the 80s. Any tips, please? Any tips for motorcycle safety for someone looking to get an M license but is scared? I will say that if you're scared, Nia, don't jump on a motorcycle if you're scared. Fear and motorcycles don't go together really well. I don't want to discourage you from being a rider, but I worry about the word scared. I would suggest taking a course. The course is a great way to get some experience and find out if it's really for you in a controlled environment. But I think motorcycling is fantastic. I love it. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I actually haven't been riding since my collision, but that's only because I'm broken and sore. I absolutely miss it and love it, and would get back to it if my body would cooperate. That said, take a course, and doing it in the city. I have people who love riding motorcycle off-road, but would never consider doing it on-road. There's also opportunities to take some off-road courses. I'm assuming you'd probably want to do it for commuting, because it's a great way to get around. Uses less gas, gets you free parking. There's a lot of benefits to motorcycling, and then the wind in your hair. It's good. I don't have the wind in my hair problem. Okay. Yeah. Also, I'd stay away from aggressive motorcycle styles. Like slow, go slow. It's good. Go appropriately. Kiana wants to know, I see plenty of officers break the law every day. Why is it okay for them but not for everyone else? Depends on what laws you're talking about. Police are permitted to break certain laws in the execution of their duties. They're allowed to use their handheld communication devices. So are police, fire, and ambulance. They're allowed. There are things that we do, like exceeding the speed limit. We're allowed to do it. It's specifically permitted. We're allowed to go through red lights. It's required for us to do the job that we do. And in order to protect the public and enforce laws, we have to be able to do certain things. If we couldn't, we wouldn't even be able to keep up with the traffic that's currently breaking the law, because we would ourselves be limited to not break the law. So there are exemptions written into the law. But I'd love to know, Kiana, what rules or laws that you're observing being broken. Dr. Nick finally got to you in your 2-part question. Can you ask the sergeant, or do you know why he says the police can search the vehicle's occupants when it comes to radar detectors? I don't see this supported in law. Okay. Oh, I see. And he quotes to say that it says, a police officer may at any time without warrant and stop, enter, and search a motor vehicle that he or she has reasonable grounds to believe is equipped with. Well, the person, when I'm searching the motor vehicle, you're in the motor vehicle, and it includes the occupants of the motor vehicle, because they're in the motor vehicle. If you were never in the motor vehicle, then it would be specific to the motor vehicle, but you're in the motor vehicle. you're covered by the motor vehicle. Yeah, I would say that's why. Is there any windshield tint exemption for drivers with sensitivity to light? No, there is not in the province of Ontario. I think there is. I think Northwest Territories, or the territories, have a windshield tint permission, but I think that's the only place in Canada. Let me see if I can find that. Okay. Windshield tint. Canada legal. Windshield. Where is this? Tintinglaws.com. Canada window tint. New Brunswick apparently allows. Oh, there's a whole list. Let's have a look. So, Alberta, none. British Columbia allows some. Manitoba. Oh, no, these are. Okay. It is Yukon. So, it is none for Alberta, a tint strip for British Columbia, a tint strip for Manitoba. New Brunswick does allow windshield tint, 70% luminescence. Let's see here. Newfoundland, Northwest Territories, Nova Scotia, Nunavut, Ontario, PEI, 0. Quebec allows a tint strip. Saskatchewan allows a smaller tint strip. And the Yukon Territories allow 70%. So there, that was close. But there you go. Sunglasses is the solution that I would suggest. I appreciate sensitivity. I've had issues in the past with sensitivity to light. It's not fun. But yeah, sunglasses for the win. Brad says, if you have sensitive eyes, you'll need to wear appropriate sunglasses. Police and emergency services need to be able to see into the vehicle. You're most correct. But not just emergency services and police. It's also for the public. They need to be able to identify people, fail to remain collision situation. You need to be able to identify drivers. It's kind of a thing. And pedestrians outside of collisions and fail to remain in criminality. Pedestrians need to make visual, nonverbal communication. You gotta be able to look in someone's eyes and see if they see you before you make decisions that could have life-altering consequences. Oh, I'm not going to remember this, or I don't remember this, so I'm going to have to look it up, and I'm happy to do that. What is the penalty of cars blowing by open streetcar doors while people are exiting? Blowing by suggests going real fast, but let's look it up. I can't remember the fine. It's just one of those things that I haven't laid in a long, long time. Streetcar. $110. Is it only $110? Approach open streetcar doors too closely. That's not even pass. Maybe there's another one for that. Well, rules of the road says 3 demerit points and 110 for approach open the streetcar door too closely. But I don't see the charge for passing it. I have to look it up later, and I don't want to spend that much time on it right now. But I'm at very least 110 3 points, if not more. Bayo. Figured, here, we're talking about, okay, cool. That was this further discussion about the tinted windshields. If someone gets out of their car, approaches your car, can you defend yourself without getting charged? Very likely you're going to get charged. It really depends on what you're talking about. If someone gets out of their car, approaches your car, you would have an opportunity to move your car away without driving over them. So it really depends on the situation. If you're talking about, do they have a firearm? There's a lot of what ifs here. But at the end of the day, there is law that allows you to defend yourself, but you have to have a threat that is real and perceived and perceive that it's going to happen, that they have the ability to carry it out. If you're inside of your locked vehicle and they're standing outside of it yelling, is that you just said approach? So nothing else has happened. No one's assaulted you, and hitting your car isn't hitting you. So there's a lot to unpack there. But if you've got more questions, feel free to ask. Stephen Bell. If I ever have traffic questions, I will ask them because I'd rather ask than break the law to be safe, to be a safe driver instead of a bad driver. That is exactly why we're here, Stephen. We're here to answer the questions, have these discussions. Not everybody agrees with all the answers, but we have them because it's good stuff to chat about, so that you don't end up getting charged for something. You ask the question so you can know stuff before you do stuff and get charged with stuff. I like saying that. Random question from Don J. Socco. Another random question. Sorry, with all the fall. What is this? With the fall pretty much here, I'm curious. With all the leaves falling, is there more vehicle fires, or is that just a myth? I've not heard of any vehicle fires because of the leaves falling. Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of that. And since I've got you here, what is it? I haven't been downtown in a while. I'm curious if there's still cops on horseback. Does it cost a lot of money, and what's the purpose? So, mounted units. Now, we do still have a mounted unit. They are not only part of the historic, pomp and pageantry of policing, where they're in parades and things like that, but they're actually a very effective tool when it comes to public order. They're used in our I don't want to call it, it's the public. It's not called public order anymore, is it? Public safety unit. So they get involved with helping to move large crowds of people, to dissuade people from in a situation where there's riots or protests. Things become difficult to manage. They're part of that. They're a very effective tool. But they're amazing, and they go out and do patrol work. How much does it cost? I have no idea. Yes. Ooh. Chase says, today I learned that a commercial motor vehicle driver can face up to a $50,000 fine if one of their wheels detach on the highway. You think it seems low? That's a $50K fine is. I don't think anyone. I wonder if anyone's ever even had a $50,000 fine. But that's very cool. I think it's cool. I think it's cool when courts and laws have the ability to appropriately impact people who choose to make through action or inaction, because you can choose to by doing something, but by not maintaining the safety of your vehicle, especially in a commercial vehicle situation, if you're choosing to, save money by not getting it serviced, and then somebody gets hurt, I'm glad to see that someone will, has the courts have the opportunity to do good stuff there and take care of consequences. So that way, it makes it that there's no benefit to not doing the right thing. What would be a really good thing for people to do, especially people who are interested in becoming members of the Toronto Police Service? They should go and visit www.tps.ca/careers, and that is where they will go if they go to that URL. It's the careers page. So, quick little thing: we are hiring, and apparently, the system's down. I should have checked that before. That's terrible. Please be advised: the eRecruit application system will not be available starting Wednesday, October 25th, till Monday, October 30th. System maintenance. Okay. So I'm guessing that means if I click here, oh, it still works. There are civilian positions that are 4 jobs that are listed. You can't apply for them because the system's down. Infrastructure solutions specialist, manager, employee services, law clerk, legal services, comms operator. Oh, 1 second. Did I say that at October 25th? Tomorrow, it's not down. It will be down. Will not be available. Got to know the days of the week, folks. I was not paying attention. So tomorrow we won't check this. In any case, we are hiring police officers. We're looking for communications operators. But this is a good place to come and visit and learn about what the job is, in case you are interested in joining the most magical of places to work. If you're looking for the most incredible volunteer opportunity ever, this is how I got started with the Toronto Police Service. So I joined the auxiliary officer program. In fact, when I left, I was an auxiliary sergeant. It really is the best place to volunteer. I do endorse it 100%. Truly amazing. So, looking for a great way to experience your community, and I say that intentionally. It's an experience. Put on a uniform, walk around. It's a different experience than just existing the way you did before. You see things and experience things and meet people. It's fantastic. Okay. Does anyone else find that plenty of semis go over 105 on the 401? Is the speed limiter no longer a thing, or do most people remove it? I think a lot of them are from out of province, and you'd have to let me know if you notice them going faster. But I think it's for out of province vehicles. As far as I know, they're still required to have a limiter. A limiter? A limiter. Let's see here. Colton wants to know, can I have, okay. Can I have over a 0 BAC, which is blood alcohol content, if I have a G license and I'm 22? And you are actually in the magical number. It's very confusing. Most people say it's because the law says over 21. So people go, "Oh, I'm 21. I'm over 21." No, you actually have to be 22. So if you have a G class license and you are 22, then you would be able to have more than zero BAC. Now, could you be impaired with something less than 0.05? Could you have criminal charges for impairment? Yeah, impairment could be any amount uh, of impairment. So really the goal is, or the suggestion would be, to still maintain a 0 BAC. It's a good practice. You've made it this long and this far without having alcohol in your system. Yes, you can have more than zero, but ideally you would still go with zero. It's just the best way to go. 0.05 would see you get a warn, which is where you get a 3-day or 7-day suspension, depending if you've done it more than once. And if you get 0.08, well, that's criminal charges for 80 and above. Impaired driving is a separate charge based on the observations of your level of impairment by drugs or alcohol. Okay. Chase says, I find it insane that it's around $20 a day extra to get a rental car with snow tires. I wonder how they manage this in Quebec. In Quebec, all vehicles on the road would need to have snow tires. That's mandated there. So if you're renting a vehicle in Quebec, I imagine that they're all compliant. Otherwise, they would be in trouble. In Ontario's, when I had a rental vehicle because of the crash I was in on Christmas, it was Christmas Eve a number of years ago. I asked for snow tires because I had them in mind, and they didn't want to charge me. And I don't remember what I did. I don't remember if I did that or not. I think it was ridiculous, and I probably didn't do it because I wouldn't have paid $20 unless they were willing to cover it by the insurance company. But anyway, long story short, that does sound wild. Okay, that's Michael answering about parents. If I don't have my car keys there inside, can I smoke weed in my personal vehicle, it being completely off? Technically, no. You can't. You can argue it, but it's not legal. You can't. There's different charges for having it consuming it in the vehicle, and there's different charges for impaired operation. So I could see where you'd have a defense for the impaired operation, but not for the consumption. So you could still be charged. Different charges, but still chargeable. All right, scrolling back. Can I drive in your country with an international driving permit, and for how long? So international driving permits are not licenses. You need to have a foreign license and an international driving permit. If you become a resident, you have only 60 days to apply for an Ontario license, at which point your international driving permit and foreign license combination are no longer valid. If you are visiting, generally you have 6 months, but up to a year, depending on the conditions. If you go to trafficcop.ca, you can actually look up the on the webpage that's linked at the bottom of the page to see the details about that. Depends on what country you're coming from as to whether or not your license will be honored. But generally speaking, foreign licenses with an international driving permit are honored. Okay. How to safely stop for emergency vehicles? Pull over as quickly and safely as possible to the nearest curb or edge of roadway. And if they're pulling you over, they'll stop behind you. And if they're not pulling you over, they will continue past you. Let's see here. Is there a difference BTW all seasons between, I'm guessing, and winter tires? Yes. Yes, there is. Winter tires are designed to work in colder temperatures. They have a different compound that remains pliable or softer in extreme cold. They have a different tread pattern to allow larger slush and to what is it called? Dissipate, to be displaced, so it can actually cut through and get to the ground. That's the biggest thing. And I'm not a tire specialist, but that's my understanding. When you talk about all seasons, they have different patches, usually different compounds across, different tread patterns. They're capable of being used in colder temperatures, but they're not ideal. So the difference between an all season versus a winter is that one is designed specifically for, and you're getting an all season is doing a little bit of everything. Well, you can have a tool that's purpose built, or you can have one that sort of covers everything. Swiss Army knife of tires versus a specialist. Now, summer tires are meant for hotter temperatures, higher speeds, things like that. If you take a winter tire and use it in the summer, you destroy it very quickly because the compound is not intended for the heat, and it actually takes much longer to stop in wet weather with a winter tire than it does with a all season or summer tire. So, you talk about race cars. Race cars have different tires for different portions of the race. They take the tires off, they switch them. Rain tires versus slicks. Like everything has a purpose, and you use the best tool for the job. Cost is a thing. So I appreciate that, and I grew up only ever having all seasons. I didn't know any better. There are some that consider themselves to be 4-season tires because all season is really 3-season tires. They're not now. They have true 4-season tires according to manufacturers. I've had people argue with me or argue that it's that all seasons are simply not meant for the winter. Anyway, they're not snow tires. They are winter tires. It's more a temperature thing than snow. And do we switch to those? We switch to those when you are seeing temperatures staying around 7 degrees. Not minus. I keep wanting to say minus. 7 degrees Celsius is when you should start putting your snow tires on. Today we're supposed to be 18 to 20 degrees. So if you put snow tires on, that you may have jumped the gun, and you might damage those tires by driving around. In any case, they are good to have if you can afford it and you can do it. My wife will not let me drive without them, so I have snow tires. What is this? Hey, I'm stuck in Canada. I'm 15 years old. How do I get home if I have no money? What do you mean? You're stuck in Canada. You need to share a little more information than that. But if you're stuck here at 15 and where is home? Yeah, you need to probably go to your consulate or go to a police station and talk to them. They might be able to help you out. Michael's, actually, I say might be able to. That would be a good place to start. Scared about M class? Definitely take a course. Insurance, okay. It's giving some information to Niha. What is this? Okay. Let me follow up to Dr. Nick's question. When a vehicle gets impounded for stunt, you're allowed to search the vehicle, so you can't search the driver and passenger as well in that case. So there's different search authorities. If we're simply if there's no arrest, because we can search people subsequent subsequent to arrest, for weapons and things like that, and it depends on the context of the arrest. For stunt, I'm probably not going to be handcuffing and searching the driver, but I am going to be impounding the vehicle, and then we do something called an inventory search, different than a search for something illegal, which is what we'd be talking about when we're dealing with a radar detector. So in the situation of the inventory search, I'm looking for valuables. I'm looking for those valuables so that I can ensure that either the driver takes them with them or that they're recorded so that when the vehicle goes into impound, it comes out with the same stuff it started with. If the driver says, I had 50 grand in the back seat, it's not there now, that's a problem. But if I search and there's nothing there and they claim it, well, I can say there was nothing there, right? That's why we do inventory searches. But we do want to make sure that they get their vehicles back in the way that they left them. Okay. 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 Shanice has a question. Does my insurance cover an accident in someone else's car? So, if the vehicle is insured, because every vehicle has to be insured to be on the road, there is a way to have. I believe there is a way for your insurance to cover the collision if you're responsible for it, rather than their insurance because you caused the damage. So that's my understanding, that you could have something called a what is it called? A binder, and then you could put your policy in place, which would probably be really nice to do if you did that to your friend's car, whatever that is. But the vehicle has to be insured. You can't just say, I'm insured, so I'm borrowing your car that has no insurance, and I'm going to drive around with it. That doesn't work. And thanks, Chase, for explaining the backlog. Appreciate it. Michael, okay, we're talking. There's a lot of discussion here with someone from Washington who's stuck here because the family left them behind. Yeah, definitely go. I would go to the U.S. Embassy. If you're saying you're American, then that would be the way to go. You could certainly also go to a police station. Doesn't show. Okay, we covered that one. I need to sip some now really cold coffee. Does an officer have the right to ask for my ID if I'm at the side of the road filming him? It depends if you're being investigated for something. Just walking around, if you're filming, you're allowed to film in public. It's no expectation of privacy, and we're not entitled to any privacy on the road either. And we're filming too. We have body cameras and dash cameras, so party on, record. There's no big deal. Now, if they're giving you lawful direction to get out of the way because you're interfering with an investigation, that is entirely different. If you're being investigated for a specific issue or criminality, that is a different situation. But you're just wandering around videotaping, that's perfectly lawful. As long as you're not trespassing or doing anything, that's not lawful. Okay. So you're in Burnaby, BC, then you should go see the RCMP there. We covered that one already. Can I still go to court if I've already paid the ticket? So you wouldn't have a court date, but if you want to reopen a case, like you paid the ticket, but now you really believe you have a defense, and you could apply to a justice of the peace to reopen. Now, normally that's not how it works. If you choose to pay it voluntarily in the first 15 days as you're required, then you would have essentially pled guilty. That's what you've admission of guilt, and you're taking. I think that's different, and I may be speaking out of school. You have to check with the courts. Then if you and I don't know if you'd be able to reopen that one, but when you have a situation where you missed your court date and you were found guilty in your absence, you were deemed not to dispute because you didn't show up. Those are the situations that I think you can reopen. So certainly you can apply to a justice of the peace. I don't know what success you'll have. That'll be up to them. Let's see here. Why do police in Ontario not stop people driving with no lights? I have seen so many on highways. I think you're making a bit of an assumption that we don't. I certainly did when I was on the road, and I know people do now. In fact, driving with no lights is a wonderful hint that the person driving may have been under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and they just forgot. But it is a major problem. I would always pull them over, and I usually ended up getting a good arrest for an impaired driver. Not every one of them, but some of them are just forgetful. Automated license plates on and off again, automation, magic, a new technology. Yeah, it's been around for a long, long time. Sometimes people just come back from the mechanic shop, and the mechanic shop turned it off, and they forgot to turn it back on. It's happened to me before. I forgot to turn it back on, and I noticed it when I was yelling at someone to turn on their own headlights. Anyway, moving on. Traffic signals and signs, not suggestions. Yes, Glenn Jarvis makes a very good point. Traffic signals and signs are not suggestions. They are absolutely dictating what the law is, and it's every driver's responsibility to follow the law. Oddly enough, these are not suggestions, and yeah, I'm just repeating what you're saying. I don't know. I started going like I'm going to say something really poetic, and it didn't work. Yeah, I don't get it. People don't think they have to follow the rules, and that's why we give tickets. Alexander says, what is considered jaywalking? If I cross at a red light at night when there's no cars on the road, does it count? Well, first of all, there is no offense for jaywalking in Ontario. Maybe in some jurisdictions there would be. There is a bylaw offense for crossing outside of a crosswalk within 50 meters of one, but it's not a specific, it's jaywalking. You can cross mid-block. We're not expecting someone, let's say you had a 1 kilometer stretch of road with no intersection that's marked. You're not expected to walk 3 kilometers around to the closest intersection. Like it's not realistic, but it is something that is riskier. So when a signalized intersection is available, we suggest you use it. And obviously, when you are engaging with traffic on the road, that it is safe to cross where you're crossing. And ideally, when you're staying at night, wear reflective or bright color clothing to increase your odds of being seen by cars and hopefully not being hit by one. Bum, bum, bum. Discussion from Michael about limiters. Cool. Our collisions, we don't call them accidents, our collisions on your driver's abstract. Um, Convictions are collisions on them on their own, I don't believe would be seen. Just uh, convictions. Yeah, I haven't looked at one. I don't think any collisions are shown. And when I've looked at other people's vehicles or other people's abstracts, it doesn't say you had a crash. It has you had a charge as a result of a crash. I don't think I've ever seen anything specific to collisions, suspensions, and convictions. Okay. Michael says collision because someone is liable. Convictions are on 3-year abstract. Hey, Michael just answered and said like what I said. Amazing. How long do you legally have to stop at a stop sign for a proper stop? So a lot of people talking about military stops or 3-second rule. Here's the deal. You must come to a complete stop, meaning no more motion. When I was on the road doing enforcement for stop signs, I would look for where I need to get a little model car or something. I'll use this 3D stormtrooper head that I printed out. So as the vehicle moves forward, you apply the brakes, weight transfers to the front. When the stop takes place, it rocks back and rests equally on all four. So you have a weight transfer, and it rocks back. As you accelerate, you usually see the front go up, but that's the deal. So if it came back down and rested and was completely not in motion, that's a stop. If you're doing that tip down, and then you continue, that is not a stop. Wheels have to stop. It's not a time thing. It's a stopping thing. And then you may only proceed when it's safe to do so. So if you're just doing the tap and it dip the wheels, and that's not a stop. Okay, moving on because I'm just going in circles. Are driving imports illegal? What? We sell imports. What kind of imports are we talking about? I'm gonna flag this dad joke for later. Yeah, I don't get your question because do you mean like? No, I don't know what you mean. Please rephrase. Ask again. If I go to court, and if I go to court and the officer doesn't show up, does the case get thrown out? The answer is depends, but very often the Crown will determine that if there was no excusal marked, they will very often withdraw the charge. Can you remove plates just because of window tint? Yes. Not any tint. It has to be tint beyond the scope of legal, making the vehicle unsafe for the road. So if you had windshield tint, yes, we can pull the plates. If you had dark tint that was opaque or more than 30% light blockage, meaning less than 70% of light is getting through, yeah, it's unsafe for the road. We can pull your plates. It's past 11 o'clock. It's 5 minutes after. I know these came in after, but there's only a couple more, so I'll read them and go through them, and then we have a dad joke or two, and then we'll call it quits for the day. So Jespy wants to know, what do police do if they find someone driving while under suspension? Funny. We don't let them drive anymore because they're suspended. We charge them for driving while under suspension, and then usually we'll call the tow truck for them so they can get their vehicle somewhere. Because you can't just leave it in the road. It'll be impounded or at least taken to taken to the impound, towed away. It'll be at your expense, and if you can't just leave it there. If you can park it on private property with permission prior to being stopped, as we talked about yesterday, then you might be able to leave it. It's unlikely that thing. So you're probably towing it home. Unless you can get insurance. Not insurance, unless you can get somebody else to drive it. Because we were talking yesterday about no insurance. Yeah, that's different. That was yesterday, the context of yesterday's question. So, yeah, you'd have to get somebody else who was licensed to drive it home. Let's see here. What do police do if they find some? That's the same question 3 times because it came out weirdly. Let's see here. I don't know Chase, what was the context of the statement? Having met both Sean and Ben Shapiro. Oh, okay, now I understand the context. I can confirm there's noticeable height. You met Ben Shapiro? No kidding. Okay, we'll have to talk about that. I want to know the story. In any case, we are done. We have met the required number of questions. We've gone overtime. It's good stuff. we've got a dad joke here from the best dad joke provider on the show. Um, dad joke sounds like you cut and pasted. I was never good at hitchhiking. I always left early to avoid traffic. I was never good at hitchhiking. I always left early to avoid traffic. Okay. Not as funny as yesterday's, but it's still good. Dad, I think my Superman costume is too tight. They only had size S. That's really bad. Really, 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 really bad. Just because we can, and I think we need another. We'll go to the dad joke generator. Because it's there. Now, granted, I go to it and I pray that it has a appropriate dad joke. But dad jokes are generally clean. That's why I feel like it's okay. How did Darth Vader know what Luke Skywalker was getting for Christmas? Guesses. He felt his presence. That's not bad. Don J. Soko says, you have a great radio voice. You sound a lot like Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars. I thank you very much. I've heard both things, and I appreciate it. The Rick Harrison thing, I keep tagging Rick Harrison and other members of the cast. I've yet to have anyone weigh in on that. Although way back when I started doing this, people were like, asking me to read lines like, hey, mind if I call a friend about this? And I know a guy knows a bit about these sort of things. You mind if I give him a call? So that was that used to happen a lot. It's funny how things have progressed over the years of doing this. That certain things have been said. It's funny. I appreciate all the questions you've asked on Instagram today. Jake Kier, how you doing? Long time no see. On highway, on shoulder, is it better to drive down shoulder to get up speed? Shoulders, if unpaved, getting up at speed could be risky. So you want to get onto the road quickly but also safely. So it depends. It's one of those things. Okay, another dad joke, and then we're saying goodbye for today anyway. Why was the office of Cantaloupes? Is it Cantaloupes or Cantaloupes so glum? Cantaloupes. Why did I know how to read that? Okay. Why was the office of Cantaloupes so glum? Because they were melon colleagues. All right. Why did chicken coops only ever have 2 doors? If they had 4 doors, they would be chicken sedan, or they would be a chicken sedan. I'm calling it quits. It has been a magical day. Thank you so much for joining with me for today, for Ask a Traffic Cop. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Have a good one. Good one. Yeah.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
I've decided I'm actually going to screen capture the chicken coops and chicken sedan because I think I should tweet that one. Okay, I'm done. Have a wonderful day. Drive safe, drive sober, park legally. I throw that in there for Aaron. And yeah,